Wow, oh wow, I had no expectation that came anywhere near what this stone turned out to be. Absolutely amazing. And in we go. So no introduction for this stone. We've already done that in a previous video. You can go check that out. But in general, this is just a massive, moldy, diseased looking chunk of Cooperpedy opal mined by the Outback opal hunters, the Blacklighters. This came from one of their live auctions run by Mark and Rachel on the Facebook group. And you can see it's just a big, ugly mess, a wild boulder. And we didn't think we'd get much out of it, but spoiler alert, we do get a hell of a lot out of it. So we're just going to attack it in this video and make it a rub because Kev would like to cut this up himself. But you can see here, 80 grit, sintered diamond. Got to be really careful. This stuff chews material like no tomorrow. And I am just taking off the edge here. So we're going to go around, we're going to do all the edges, and you'll see the technique that I use. I'm basically carving pretty aggressively until I see a hint of color, and then I'm stopping and moving on to the next spot. This sintered diamond burr itself, actually, I called Drax after Drax the Destroyer. It's not the smartest burr, it's not the most gentle, it's not the most cautious, but it will remove material, and here I need to remove a lot of material. This stone itself is over 300 carats. So it's got a lot of potch on it, and we're going to remove that. You can see here I'm just constantly checking, and I can get that little glimpse, getting that glimpse of that color bar sneaking in under the potch. So that's about where you want to start pulling up and stopping and moving on to the next place. And this is a really important thing. So here I could register that the bit was wobbling a bit. If I turn it on and off a few times, you can see that it's wobbling way out of control, and you can feel that hammer up against the stone. So you've got to fix that as soon as it happens. Here it is, beautiful. Back in action. All you have to do is just tighten it up, maybe reposition the burr. My multi-bit chuck is kind of getting a little bit old and worn now, so this happens much more often than it should, which is a little bit disappointing. But we just tighten up, we reposition, and we go on. So now I'm going to do something that I only do for large stones, and that is channeling. So here I'm starting a channel. By the time I get to the end of it, you can see I've just cut a big gouge out of it. You're checking it constantly to make sure you're not going through color, and here you can see I'm just hitting that color, almost on the color bar. So that's when I stop and I move to the next spot. So we're working on another edge, and we'll just rub this entire thing back. I'll just jump ahead a lot in this one because there was a lot of carving, and you can see just checking the bar, constantly checking the bar. You don't want to go through that. You don't even want to go into it. You want to stop before it if at all possible. So here I'm doing that entire edge, and beautiful. There it is. That's enough. Just a slight glimpse. Moving on to the opposite corner. Now this already had some exposed color there, but it also had this little bit of sand inclusion, and I want to get rid of those with the sintered diamond. It just makes life much easier. The 80 grit, if it can get through potch real quickly, you should see how quickly it gets through this sand. Just boom, straight gone. And you can see just working away, much more careful when there's already pre-exposed color. Working away, rubbing it all off, having a good look at it, and seeing that there is color just starting to peek through. Over here, it was a little bit of a crumbly stone, and you can see there's a few little chips coming off. There's a bit of sand here and there, and that just gets shot up straight away. So I'm being a lot more careful here. Burr's moving much slower, and I'm looking at that amazing color coming through. And at this point, I'm not putting this stone down again for quite a long time. I was talking to Kev, I was getting really excited. And another corner, and what do you know? Heaps more color. The same kind of color. The color bar is traveling all the way around the stone. Just want to meet these two edges up. And yeah, you can see where this cut is going. There's color so far all the way around the edge. Even when we're linking edges together, still more color. You can see I'm going pretty aggressively here. This bottom corner was a little bit odd. The color bar dips slightly, so there was a lot more to remove. But linking that corner, linking this corner, there's just color everywhere, and you can see a lot of it is red. And what's the color we're always hunting for? That red. So we're really on the money at this point in time, and I'm starting to get pretty excited about it. But just uncovering the edges like this, and uncovering that one little trench in the middle, it's not really good enough. We kind of want to see what's going on with the rest of the stone. And I always say with a Dremel, it's really hard to do massive stones like this. So I've developed a way of cheating. And what do you know? We are going to cut another trench straight through the middle. Just like the first one, we're just going to go straight across the guts here and just pull up right before the color. If we don't see color, we're going to get pretty disappointed, but we're going to keep going until we hit the color or we go too far. And you can see here, just washing it constantly. And what do you know? There's a little bit of color in there coming through. The same red, the same faint red. So another channel, we're a perfect strike rate so far. So we're going to do another channel and really get a good look into the inside guts of this stone. So just carving along. This isn't sped up footage either. So this is real time. I'm moving very quickly, very aggressively until I get close to that color. And here I'm having a look and it's just sneaking through. This is almost the time to stop, maybe a little bit more. And you can see there was that little black ominous section, and this is the classic squid ink inclusion. It's not actually squid ink, but it looks like it. And it just sprays this black dye all over the place. It's pretty good. It's probably some sort of metal oxide, most likely. But unfortunately this one doesn't come out, whereas a lot of the smaller ones that I'd hit along the way did come out. This one is a huge one, and the stone seems to have a layer of this stuff in the guts of it, so this may be just hitting that layer. And unfortunately we've got a little bit of a hole, which on a stone this size is already surprising that we haven't hit more roadblocks like that. And now you can see I'm going to link all my trenches by just drilling straight up the guts. And then we'll end up with these 6 kind of nodules. It'll look like a really demented chocolate bar, but it will give us an absolute insight into pretty much the entire stone at that point. Once this is removed, we'll have a very good segmented look at most of the stone. You can assume that linking up each of those notches is going to yield basically anything that's around the outer edge. So just drilling through. Of course, I'm starting these lines very carefully, but that's overcautious. It's just so that the burr doesn't slip when I'm moving much faster like I am now. Here you can see we've gotten through it. We're having a look, having a real good look, still going pretty aggressive, but washing and having a close look every now and then. And look at that, we've got color in every one of those gaps. And keep in mind, this isn't the fully exposed color. This is pulling up just short of exposing the color. So now, as I'm demonstrating here beautifully, we're just going to cut each of those nodules off. It's like a really weird rock 6-pack. You can see here, just taking off the first one, having a look under it, and what do you know? Beautiful color. A lot of these ginger whiskers I know are not going to come out at this point. It's pervaded all the way through the stone. There's very little chance that it's all going to come out, but there is a lot of color bar to play with, so you could actually get further into it. And you can see here, just beautiful. A very consistent color bar, absolutely dominated by red. And then we're going to switch over to the 600 to just get closer to the color bar, because this has still got a thin layer of potch over the top. We're just looking through it. So when you let this dry up, it'll go completely foggy and you won't see anything, but once you dunk it in the water, it all comes back. And we just want to make it so that it's not quite so rough. And this is a good time to kind of even it out. Because of all the channels and everything we cut, we've got a lot of unevenness. So we just want to get rid of all the little bits and pieces here and there that we can. You can see I'm wearing an hoodie in that reflection, that's good. And yeah, we're just going to work out a few of these little imperfections. Wow, oh wow, I had no expectation that came anywhere near what this stone turned out to be. Absolutely amazing. I was messaging Kev, the owner of this stone, a few times while we were cutting it, and both of us said if we got 10% out of this, we'd be quite happy, but have a look at this thing. I mean, there's of course a whole heap of squid ink little imperfections. Some of them actually I've managed to get rid of, especially over here. They seem to come out quite easily. So there's a couple spots over here that might still come out. But you can see it's just a foil red. The camera is not lying. In person, it is just slightly more high res. but it's just insane. You can get some cooler colors at some sharper angles, so you can get these greens, blues, and slight yellows, but face on, it is just red. On this angle, you can see, once again, the greens and purples kind of try their hardest to sneak in, but yeah, the red ain't letting go at any angle, really. And in most places, it's kind of got a little bit of maybe like a moss pattern, mostly a palette, some tiny little jigsaw pieces here and there, which is of course my favorite pattern. Over here, there's a couple good ones. Of course, there's still a fair few ginger whiskers and stuff, and this is pretty rough for a rub still, but from here, Kev can have a good look and decide how he's going to cab it up. He can probably just cut some stones wherever he wants, really. You can just attack this with a template and go for it. In terms of the other side, so this is the other side, the green foil color. So not a lot of red on this side, which is why I attacked the other side first. We're still undecided on what we're going to do here. There is one major flaw on this side, and that is that I think if I tried, I could just pry this off and pick it off. Because you can see here, these big cracks going across here. It's a bit harder to see when it's wet, but these big cracks kind of link over to here, and there's a huge gap underneath this. So this could actually be a face, and you could just snap this off and then cut a stone out of that. It's quite large chunk that's very ready to come off. I can feel it when I just squeeze either down like this. I can feel it crunch. So there's definitely a big loose bit there. And it's an area that I think got hit pretty hard, because here you can see there's a big crack going down here as well. So this section here could also be snapped off or maybe cut free. There's a few little cracks like that, but in general, the stone's pretty well intact. It gets fairly brittle towards the edges. I'll let Kev have a look at this side, and I mean, I can see that we could rub a lot of this back and see if we get that foil green to cover the whole area. If the bar links as well as the last one. I don't think it's quite as strong, but you never know. I didn't know that this was going to come out as well as it did, and I mean, look at it now. Just got to tackle this squid ink spot. Maybe with a slice and some good template work, you should be able to get a lot of stone out of that. Amazing. And to think the Blacklighters, the Outback Opal Hunters, the Blacklighters were basically giving this stuff away. They were selling it as just pure specimen. There's not much you can do with it. And now I've cleaned up this part, and I've seen another small piece get cleaned up. Whoever won the other auctions when they were giving this stuff out, you're going to be really happy. Definitely attack it with a tool. Don't leave it as is. You should be able to get something out of it. There's heaps of areas over here that'll clean up. And I can't believe it. I mean, Kev's hit a home run here. I'm incredibly happy for him. I've had a fair few stones fail lately, and this is definitely not one. But anyway, it may be back, it may not be. Either way, I'll definitely be back, and I'll see you in the next video.